Hello, this is Tara, and I'm growing up crazy. At least I did, and I'm going to talk about it right now. And I've decided there's really nothing else from zero to 6 weeks, so that I know that I remember. So I'm going down to 3 to 4 years. Um, and I'll tell you what I remember that was funny, or that I thought was funny. Anyhow, so my mother had been in the locked facility at uh, that's what happens when you grow up crazy. You can't remember anything. General Hospital. It's now USC Medical Center. At that time, it was General Hospital, and she had had a lot of trouble there, basically because she can't keep her big mouth shut, and she's belligerent, and basically just to yell. I'm not like that. I have to have a reason. I can always make a reason up. Got it from mom. So, anyway, my mother, whom by this time I don't even remember, I was now calling my Aunt June. I didn't say that. I don't think she's around anymore. Anyways, I gotta remember I can't say people's names. So, I was calling my aunt mother, mommy, whatever I wanted to say. And I no longer remembered my mom. There was no keeping keeping her in the loop with me. My aunt was one of these people that was all in or all out. She was either in your life or she was not. So, needless to say, she was not in my mother's life at this point. So, she wasn't. She just never, I don't think she ever went to see her. I honestly don't. But, anyways, all of a sudden, this woman looking an awful lot like my aunt shows up on the front door with this really dark, scary looking short guy. Who the hell are these people? I honestly knew I felt some kind of familial family connection, just because she looked so much like my aunt. And I thought my aunt was going to hit the ceiling. Absolutely blew her mind that my mother was at our front door. And after moving, after the whole thing, there she was. And of course, she wanted her gone as quick as possible, as did I and the dogs that were screaming at her. No dog ever loved my mother. She liked cats, they liked her, dogs wanted to eat her. Okay with me. So my mother demanded to take me back. I ran off screaming, and that's the last thing I remember for days. The next thing I remember is going into an attorney's office. I didn't know it was an attorney's office. Frankly, I thought it was a doctor's office, and I was not feeling real good about that. And I didn't know anything that was going on. Thank goodness people kept me out of the loop, even though it was my life on the line. But apparently we were in an attorney's office, and we were going to court. There's some big time stuff going on here, and we're going to court, and we're going to kick my mom's butt. Apparently, in going to court was going to kick her butt, or my aunt could have kicked her butt. She sure wanted to. So, blah, 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 blah. I do know my mom showed up at least one time when I was outside, getting out of the car, getting into the house, I believe, and she was shooed off by threats to call the cops, which scared the short little dark man crazy. Scared him to death. You'd think he had something to hide from the cops. Anyways, then it's all jumble, jumble, jumble. And then, boom, I'm in that attorney's office again. And I'm all dressed up. My aunt and my mother used to put these standout dresses. They look like what Shirley Temple wore. Remember Shirley Temple and I'm Gonna Be Her? No, 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 no. But they had under standout slip, under a standout dress, what do you need? You need a standout slip. And they didn't have the good sense back there to cover them with any kind of silky material. You just had that scratchy stuff against your skin. And this was not appropriate for me. It was not making me happy, but that's what I wore. And on this particular day, I had gotten some new shoes. I don't remember getting the new shoes. I know there were patent leather Mary Janes. After thinking about it when I was younger, I know they were patent leather, and I'm pretty sure they were Mary Janes. And my aunt, I guess the attorney had asked me how I was. Not really probably caring, but he asked me how I was, and I said, "Oh, I'm fine. I got new shoes." And I held up one, and I said, "See?" And he said, "Oh, nice." And then I said, "I got two of them, see?" You know, who's to know? They came in a pair. Who knew? So everybody laughed, haha, and we went off into this huge courtroom in downtown LA, where I never remember really being. So I was sitting outside of the court. I was not allowed to go into the court. There's no reason for me to go because I was a minor and everybody was going to set up my life for me. I do remember my mother and my little short guy coming into the court, and my mother ran to me, at which point I was absolutely... My mother had no indoor voice whatsoever. She could stand right next to you, sit right next to you, and speak just as loud as she possibly could manage. "Mom, I can hear you. I'm not down the street." But, so that's what she did. She sat next to me and started yelling and screaming about nothing that I can remember. I know she was saying I was going home with her and that I was her daughter. And I said, "No, you're not my mother. You are not my mother. That is my mother." And of course she lost it then, and there was yelling and screaming back and forward. And some guy in a uniform came over. It was his job to watch me, apparently, and they went into the courtroom. I don't remember how long it was that they were in there. I don't remember it being a long, long time because I wasn't fidgety. And they came out, and my aunt grabbed her jacket and her purse and turned around and walked out of the room, walked out of the building, and never looked back, ever. Never say never, but she pretty much never looked back. She did not indoctrinate me into what was happening. She did not... Nobody told me where I was going to go, who that man was, who that woman was. I didn't look like her. I do now. Scary. But I didn't know her. And she sure as hell wanted to know me. My mother was very touchy-feely. "I love you, give me a hug." And you know, it's seriously sad. I mean, I am like that now. People I don't know, people in the street, and it's... I know some kind of mechanism. Maybe if they're close to me, I can sniff them out, see if they're okay. I don't know, because I don't like most people. But you know, sometimes going outside is worth it. Not always, rarely actually, but sometimes it's worth it. But anyways, and I do remember this very distinctly. I screamed as loud as I could, and I ran off, just shot down the hallway running after what I thought was my mother, who apparently had said to come on, and I didn't do it. And I was a very obedient child, and I was horrified that she would tell me to come with her, and I didn't do it. And why didn't she turn around and come get me? Well, of course, the officer who had been watching me grabbed me and walked me back. And I really wanted to hurt him really badly. But I, of course, couldn't. But so my mom and the man who, after all that, turned out to be named something, and he was my stepfather. I was like, oh, who knew? Okay, hi. And he just gave this horrible energy out. Do you ever meet somebody like that? You know, this horrible energy, like you just want to run or say, what the hell? What are you? Who are you? Why do you have this feeling? But he just did. And my mom did too. And now I don't know if it's because she was near him or she loved him or she loved me. I don't know. But it was just this awful feeling. And I'm not saying I had any knowledge of what was going to happen or what he really, was or could be or anything like that. Didn't know him at all, but I just didn't like him. And of course, that could be the old thing about, you've taken my uncle's place, who was dad, and you took my my mom's place, and I don't know. So I don't remember the ride home. Probably was completely filled with horrid crying. I was in a truck that was bondoed. I don't know if anybody remembers bondoed. And it was steel gray Bondo paint. It was old and it was ugly. And I was in it. I'd never been in an old car in my life. I was a princess. Not anymore. I'm the pauper now. But I mean, you children are very, you can take a child and make them, kind of, they'll eventually get used to it. Maybe not like it, but they'll certainly get used to it. And I guess that's what everybody thought I was going to do, but it just didn't happen. I was not one that was going to get used to this. Especially since my mother, true to form, pretty much went right into some kind of psychotic balloon. I don't know what to say. She'd walk by and you'd be like, whoa, what the hell was that? And my stepfather would loom in the background. We were in what turned out to be a 12-foot trailer at the time. I know we ended up in a 27-foot trailer, but we were in, I believe, a 12-foot trailer. There was one bedroom, and it was in the very, very back, and it was very small, and it was mine. And the bathroom was right by me, so everybody had to plop, plop, plop through there. And I was horrified that I was in this tiny little space and scared because people were coming and going that I didn't know, that I didn't want to know, and I kept waiting for somebody to come get me. It was this weird, like I'd crossed over into another dimension, and I was just waiting for the door to open to hop back where I belonged. That never happened. But if it would have, I would have jumped in and pulled the door closed, slam right on my mother's nose, and would have been just as happy about it as I could be. So, we actually went to visit, and this was kind of cool because I didn't know I had a grandmother. I don't even remember talking about it. I didn't know you could have a grandmother, but I had a grandmother and 2 more aunts and 2 other uncles. One was my mother's brother, and one was my aunt's husband. And it was kind of cool. They had this house and they had a dog and cats. I loved the dog to death. The dog loved me. Everywhere I go, she'd follow me around. And I loved that. But it was either the first or the second time that I was there that my aunt showed up. And this is the absolutely last time I ever saw her. She showed up and apparently had decided to beat the shit out of my mother and take me. That seemed like a good idea to me at the time, but as an adult, I'm thinking, what the hell? You know, just come and say please. May I have my daughter back? And I should be able to go with my mom. Because I sure as hell so far wasn't calling my mom my mom. At that point, I didn't believe she was my mom. And I had basically been stolen. And I wanted to go. And she never looked at me. She never looked at me ever. I don't even know how she knew we were there. Now that I think of it, she had to be waiting there, but how would she know that we were going to be there? I don't know, and I don't know the time frame, anything. I do know that I was no longer in fancy smancy skirts, which is fine with me, actually. Dresses. I was wearing shorts and tops and t-shirts and not jeans. I didn't wear jeans for a long time, but capris, whatever they're called, and I was kind of happy about that because being really, I'm not a girly girl, really, truly, I'm not, but that's how I was. My mother's not a girly girl either. Wasn't a girly girl either. She was very, she was raised on a farm and blah blah blah, and that's the crazy bug bit her there. I don't know, but so. Well, I was at my aunt's, and that whole thing happened. Somebody took me around back of the house. They had a huge yard and side yard on one side. The back of the house wasn't that big, but the neighbors had animals, and they had chickens and baby chicks, and they were in my grandma's yard. So I thought they were hers. So I was, oh, chickies, chickies, and they ran and went to and jumped over the fence, and I'm like, is nobody where they belong? You're our chicks, and I'm her daughter. I don't know what's going on. Please come back. I wanted a chick so bad I could just taste it. So, I didn't get one, obviously, but I asked somebody. Somehow it got in my head, so obviously I asked somebody, where did that baby chick come from? I want to know. And somebody told me from an egg. Okay, and where do we get these eggs? What are these things eggs? You eat them. We always have them they're always in your fridge. Okay. So, I thought about it and thought about it for so long, but this man, the short, dark man who I ended up calling him by his name sometime when I was really mad at him, and other times I would call him by his not title, but hello kitty. You can tell I'm a cat person. But anyways, I finally made the decision one night. I was going to get up in the middle of the night, which probably meant it was 7 o'clock, and I was going to go into the kitchen and I was going to get an egg. There's nobody up, so I went in there and I got an egg. I wrapped it up in a blanket because somebody told me it had to be warm. It would be warm, and then it would hatch into a chick. Pasteurizing was not in that equation anywhere. So what do I know? It's going to be a chick. So I wrapped it and I put it to the side. No one ever said that they could count the eggs in the carton. They could. And Mom finally stomped into the kitchen and said, "Where's the egg?" You're awake when you're asleep? What? And she was always like that. She had ESP everywhere. If I breathed wrong, she'd come into the room and make sure I was okay. It was quite alarming. No one had ever known me that well, and I didn't like it. So I told her the egg was fine and it was going to be a chick pretty soon. And she laughed her ass off. I didn't appreciate that, especially when she was crazy. She stomped and stomped and hummed and hawed, and my stepfather came into the room and demanded the chick back, or the egg. To me it was a chick, but to him it was an egg. I was like, we can't eat this egg, it's a baby chick. All I have to do is crack it open. So my mom stomped into the room and wanted to know what it was, and I pointed it out to them, and she took it over and cracked it open. And I was so excited. And then I wasn't. I hate you, Mom. At that point, I hated you. And stepdad, you're on my shit list forever. So there was no egg. There was no chick. There was no fun. But there is a cat. So anyways, that is as funny as that got. I'm sorry, I just think it's funny that they took my chick. What would have hurt them? To just let me believe it and then come, But no. Okay, so next I'm gonna, and I'm sorry I'm not posting a lot. It's just I've had some medical issues, and I've always got the mental I have to be careful of. The cat doesn't let me do much either. The husband, I don't want to talk about him. But anyway, so that is that, and I'm going to tell you next time on this station about, what am I going to tell you? Ah, my love for shaving cream. Talk to you later.